What's up, y'all? This is Dpeezy. Kind of just wanted to let you know some background on myself, how I ended up getting locked up my first time, my life in Houston, my life as it is now. So there's gonna be a couple parts, but stick in there with me and you'll hear some pretty interesting stories. So I'm from Houston, Texas. A lot of y'all probably already know, but I'm currently in Long Beach, California, where I reside right now. Um, when I was younger in high school, I played football. I had a 4.40 as a freshman. I was doing good, on track for scholarships, and as I started going to my senior year, just started kind of hanging with the wrong crowd, I guess you'd want to say, and just doing things that I thought that I could get away with and not have no repercussions later on in my life. Um, but getting older, that's not the case now. So I was like, being from Houston, there had like a lot of downers, um, like Xanax and weed and syrup and everything. And so, man, I would take all that at that time. The Xanax, man, that shit would make you forget everything you did and make you not give a damn what you gonna do. If I want something, I'm gonna take it, So it was that kind of attitude. So catching my first case, I'm I'm at this party and there's somebody in there slanging them Xanax, and I ended up taking like 5 of them. I bought them and I called my homie and I was like, hey man, I'm at this party, man, come through. And he was like, man, I'm way over here, I ain't got no ride. So I was like, damn. All right. So I'm walking around looking for a car, opening the doors, see which doors are open, and I ended up doing a couple in, driveways, and they didn't open. Some did, but they didn't, I couldn't turn it on. And then so I went to one car and door opened and it had the keys in the visor. I dropped it and it dropped out. Started it and I went to go pick up my homeboy. But with 5 Xanax in your head, man, I never made it to him, let's just say that. And I ended up going down Highway 6 somehow into a whole different county. I woke up in a ditch and with the police saying, toot toot, knocking at my window, toot 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 toot. Hey, do you need an ambulance? Do you need an ambulance? I'm like, oh shit. I get up real quick, I look around, I'm trying to start the car to get away, a car's sideways in a ditch. I'm like, man, come on, what's going on? And I'm like, nah, I don't need no ambulance, what's up? Let me go. And she tells me to get out the car, she searched me. I had like, at the time there was Lortabs and of course I had the Xanax on me and stuff. So she ended up booking me in. They didn't charge me with the pills, but they charged me with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. And it just so happened the car that I took was from a deputy chief probation officer. My luck, right? Um, and then so I go to court and I'm waiting for court and everything. And then my aunt is like, my auntie in California was like, hey, if we bail you out, you have to come to California because you're getting in way too much trouble out there. I got locked up for minor things, like in Texas, you get locked up for possession of marijuana. I got probably like a little joint. I had to do a week for that, a couple days sometimes. But so I ended up getting bailed out and I had to move to California. So came out, started a new life. They gave me 4 years probation, 4 years formal probation, which I transferred to California. And I did like 3.5, man, almost off. But then I kind of missed some court payments. So they sent me a letter to go to court and back in Texas. And I was like, man, I ain't finna fly back over there. I ain't got no money for no plane ticket right now. So I just kind of ignored it. And then so later on, they put a warrant out for me in Texas. And this is like 3 years later. So I I didn't really think nothing of it. And I would constantly like get pulled over, and sometimes they would like they run my license. Oh, you have a warrant in Texas, and then they would hold me in the holding cell, like overnight. And the next day they'd be like, oh, you know what, Texas don't want you, and they would release me. So that happened to me like 5 times. So I'm like, oh man, they're never gonna come get me. And then one day, I ended up taking Xanax again out here in California and trying to go to this party. And I'm like nodding out and everything. I end up crashing on the 5 freeway where there's a carpool, and then there's a divider, and then there's a freeway. So I kind of drifted off the freeway and started hitting the yellow poles that separate that those yellow poles, kind of like the water bins, but the yellow poles right before that divider. So I'm like, do, and I wake up. I'm like, oh shit, bow, and I crashed right there. Whole V in my car. It was like this, and I didn't get hurt. I mean, I should have, thank goodness. The 2 times I crashed the car in Texas and on the 5, I didn't get hurt. I got out and I was like, what should I do? Should I run? Should I run? And I'm like looking around, and a couple minutes later, the highway patrol pulls up. They do the breathalyzer test, but I wasn't drinking. I just took, them pills. And so I passed that, but I still couldn't really walk, so I wasn't passing the walk in the line thing. So they took me in. They took me to a basement in Orange County Jail, and they drew blood from me. I don't know if I lit them. I can't remember really. It's all blur. But anyways, so they took the blood, and I went to court. I did 60 days for that. They gave me a DUI. I did 60 days for that, Orange County Jail. And then so I'm thinking I'm about to get out after those 60 days, and then they're like, oh, you have a hold from Texas. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll probably have to do another 30 days because they hold you up to 30 days. All right, well, I'm thinking, okay, so 28 days in, I'm like, all right, got 2 more days left. I'm about to get released. They call my name. I'm like, oh yeah, about to go. And so I get to the bottom, and then there's this dude like dressed in all black with like vest on and stuff, and he has these long chains, and he was like, I'm like, where we going? And he was like, oh, you going to Texas? I'm like, man, what? So now remind you, I was on the run, pretty much on the run, fugitive from Texas for like 4 years. So it's been like, no, it was about 3 years. So it was 6 years total that I originally caught this original case. I was 18 at the time and 25 going back. So they're taking me all the way back to Texas. We stay in all these different jails on the way in Arizona, El Paso, New Mexico. And so I spent time in so many different jails on the way there. It was crazy, man. Just every jail was almost like different. One place they were smoking in there, and they were like, you don't have no tobacco? I was like, y'all can smoke tobacco in here? And the sergeant actually came and was like, here, gave us a cigarette, and we were smoking or whatever, and they lit it for us. I'm like, man, this is a pretty chill spot right here. But we only stayed there for a day. I go to Texas, boom. I get to Houston. No, actually, I get to Waller County, because that's where I ended up somehow. I never even been to Waller County in my life, and somehow ended up in a ditch there. So I ended up in Waller County, and I'm like, all right, well, I was going to go to court, and, it's been 6 years since the original case, so they're probably just going to reinstate my probation or just be like, you know what, it's time to serve. So I go to court, and they pretty much gave me the 2-year max. They straight up maxed me out on this case. I'm like, oh, hell nah. So I get back to the cell. Everyone's like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, bro, man, they gave me 2 years flat. And everyone's like, and they saw I was stressing. Everyone was like, man, don't trip, bro. You don't trip. You do your time. You get out. You won't have no papers. You don't got nothing to worry about. You can start fresh. So I'm starting to feel better and stuff. But still, I'm like, damn, I got to go through 2 calendars. So that was really like an eye opener. And I told myself, all right, this is how you're going to be living. This is what you have to get used to. This is going to be your life for 2 years. So I kind of like programmed my thoughts to not even think about stuff on the outside. I didn't want to watch any commercials, any food commercials. I didn't really pay attention to the news. I was just in there like institutionalized, really. Um, so I ended up having to do the 2 years. And I have many, 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 many stories of what happened in those 2 years, how I ended up in the hole, how I caught my other case. I kind of, I got a lot to tell y'all, man. So y'all stay tuned. That was my first time getting locked up, catching my first felony. And I'm gonna give y'all updates on what we got going on now. As you can see, I wanted to let y'all know I'm not in a jail right now. I'm in a halfway home. And and at first I was on lockdown for 90 days and then, per court and probation and everything. And then I started working my way up to where I got weekends passes. And now I can go out pretty much any day and just be back before curfew. So I worked my way up and I'm just trying to do good right now. And just remember that crime does not pay, man. It doesn't. It always catches up with you in the long run. Stay tuned. I got many more stories for you, many more skits, many more recipes. Got a lot in store hanging out with me, all right? So just want to let you know I love y'all and thanks for tuning in. And till next episode.